Alright, it's old Dude the Cloud Mutilator back. I did another build today. Thought I'd share it with you guys. This one is original, meaning like I just invented it for real. And if somebody else has done this, well, I'll eat a shoe or something. I'm going to call this one a Tumbleweed build. And essentially it's 2 wadded coils. Phone just does not want to focus. 2 wadded coils. They kind of look like tumbleweeds. It's actually kind of like a macro coil meets a stovetop coil meets something some crazy guy thought up. These actually have a sort of a central cavity, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wick those through those cavities and see how that does. This one here ohms out at 0.26, so it's kind of high, a little higher than I would have liked, but that's because none of the coils are touching anywhere. And it heats up really nice and even. Seems to cool down pretty quick. A little bit of a hot spot there on that one, pulsing. And we're getting nice and hot and cooking stuff up off the top. This this one's a flavor saver. Wow, that sucker's really hot over there. Let's see if I can adjust this a little bit. Kind of hard to do when the phone's not going to cooperate for you. Just going to change the pitch of this a little bit because it doesn't want to seem to heat up as reliably as this one is. I think maybe I had a wire touching in there and that's why. Then most of the builds I've been doing are connected builds, or whatever you might want to call those, where the majority of the lead connects to the rest of the build. And so this one here is my first open build to try, at least since I was new and didn't know what I was doing. Okay, that's better. That's better for nothing touching. I'm wondering if one of my wires is a little longer than the other. Pretty hot over there on that other side. But I think for general purposes it's going to work just fine. I'll have to remember to add more drips to the one side than the other, but maybe, I don't know, it might not make any difference. So let's get some bacon in. I'm going to start with about that much. Actually, that seems like a lot, so I'm going to break it in half. And we'll just twist the tip and go through. It's my first attempt at wicking one like this, so if I fail miserably, laugh heartily. There we go. And I'm just going to stuff this all in here. Because somebody once said you could never have too much cotton. Might make your build look like shit, but if it lets you vape good, who cares? There's always time to be aesthetically pleasing later. I don't even know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but alright, we got a nice little S-shaped pack in there. Juice should flow in and around through that just fine. Oh, I got a piece of lead here. And my tweezers don't want to cut, or whatever these damn things are called. Alright, another piece of bacon in here. Now I'm going to have to move that. Woo! Alright, but that put the little twist in it that I needed. There we go. Now I can use that hole. I need a piece of canthal to grab that. This bent up one should hook it just fine. So obviously important to take into consideration when you're building. Make sure you can get your wick in, or your cotton, or whatever you're using to draw fluid with. Looks like I should be able to grab that now. Well, until I screwed it up. Got it. Okay. Alright, and it wormed through. Very nice. I like to twist my wick a little bit. I see a lot of people putting it in real loose, and I've started trying to incorporate that. I'm not going to be so proud as to say that just because I'm smart, I know more than you guys. Your site's been up forever, and a lot of people respect it, so I'm going to assume that there's a lot of accurate and useful information in there, and congratulate you guys on a job well done with that, because the vape community has been needing positive resources like that. People need to know that while we can't guarantee the end-all be-all safety of vaping with with that guy's lung x-rays, or maybe you haven't seen that yet on Z-Sig, ZEE Sig, their owner or manager or whatever had a chest x-ray done back in 2006 when he quit smoking, and 6 years later had another chest x-ray done when he had an auto accident, and his lungs are 50% improved, but he's been vaping since 2006, so that was after 6 years of vaping. And if you're like me, you go down that rabbit hole and start wondering, that means he was vaping the bad e-juice too, and his lungs are still better than they were when he was a smoker. Amazing, huh? That's actually powerful and important information that needs to be out there, because they're putting legislation in place. I don't know if it's going on all over, but it's certainly going to affect my area, and they're essentially turning vaping into like drug activity. Like vaping is doing drugs now. Once they finally get their way and the local law enforcement gets to go and mess with everybody. Well, vaping is pretty big here where we are, even though it's a small town. Lots of people are doing it because it was embraced for a while. But then these things come out and this behavior goes on, and people start generating volumes of vapor, and then you got the idiots that are out there using the bad juice, stinking up the place. You use the good juice, and I'm not talking about heavy food flavors, but the good juice with inert stuff like berries or coffee or whatever, and you use the right juice, you can make some pretty potent flavors that don't have any smell at all whatsoever. Like I made a frappuccino last night, tweaked on it a few times, and in the end it turned out pretty good. But the most interesting part about it that my daughter said was that while I was vaping it in the room, she noticed it didn't have a heavy odor like most of the other juices that I use. So good to know. Let's give this a shot, see how it vapes. Not a real heavy cloud, 0.29 ohms. Let's crank it up to 84 watts, 0.5. Doesn't make a whole lot of cloud, which is really what I like. But it's really, really, really good with the flavor. The flavor is really pronounced. I'm vaping a proprietary blend. I made this up myself over at Southwest Vape using their flavor bar. This one is Mimosa, and it's got 4 mg's nicotine. Just tastes fantastic. Oops, well, I really jacked that up, didn't I? This is what happens when I overfill and it runs down the side. Before it gets on the deck, I just turn it back upside down, let it get back onto the cotton, and cap that sucker off. Good to go. And I don't remember this Mimosa vaping that well anyway. It may be a high PG content. The flavor has always been pretty good, but that bottle is like a year old, so the flavor is stellar. It's like drinking a mimosa. Cheers.